It's official. So hello everyone again. I'm April Williams. So I do all the marketing for Backyard EDUs. If you found us on social media and you're not sure who we are a small home construction company. We build standalone small homes in backyards, and most known for our ADUs, our accessory dwelling units. And so I do all the marketing. I'm behind the social media, the newsletters, these events. And then also with me is Tim O'Reilly. He's our small home advisor in Massachusetts. We do also we build in Maine and Massachusetts. We've done a couple projects in New Hampshire, and we're working to spread our way through New England eventually. So while Tim is here representing Massachusetts, if you have questions from other areas, he will try and answer those, or hopefully we can point you in the right direction. And tonight, what are we talking about, Tim?
Yeah, let's get right into it. So we previously this spring sort of did a smallest series looking at different size homes, and we're harkening back here to a format we were doing a while back of highlighting individual homes. Because as much fun as it is to do paint a wide stroke, we like to get into the nitty-gritty details. So we figured what better place to show off in the summer than Cape Cod. So this home we finished for the homeowner last fall, and we wanna go through it. So we have a couple of things to look at tonight. We have a floor plan, and I'll walk us through that, and we can talk about some design considerations, and various things that we did in the design phase. We'll have some photos to look at. We can see how did it show up, how did the construction go, and then what was that final product. So we have an awesome Matterport 3D walkthrough. As I go through, I sort of wear different hats during the project, and I'll try to talk about all those pieces. But like Avril mentioned earlier, please blow up that Q&A. These events are always better with your questions and your participation. So I'll dive right in. Let's get started at the floor plan view. So this one is unique in the sense that we started with one of our base designs, the boomerang. And as we chewed and worked our way through the design, it ended up in sort of a T shape. So we took our standard boomerang, our 1-bedroom model, and from there we played around with kitchens, bedrooms, bathrooms, living space, entrances, windows, views. And as we went through this process, we were also pricing, and the homeowner realized, hey, I'm within my budget. I'm going to spend a little bit extra and add a 3-season bonus room. And we'll see in the final iteration that this actually became a 4-season room. It feels like a 3-season room, but it's fully insulated and conditioned. So they can enjoy it year round on the Cape. Design wise, we started with the kitchen. We went through different parts of the house and landed on the kitchen as a key component. So as you see in the floor plan, we'll see in the walkthrough, this space can easily be navigated by 2 people preparing a meal, 1 person preparing a meal, 1 person sitting, and then giving folks options for tables. So we showed a 4-person table here. They could have a smaller 2-person table. They could even look at doing, a table that seats 6, whether that's a high top or up against the window. But with full appliances, this space is very, very functional for the kitchen and the small home. And as we'll see in our walkthrough, the exact cabinetry here and the layout of that allows for maximal storage in that space. Once the kitchen was fleshed out and finalized, we turned our attention to the bedroom. A key consideration was, where is the main house in relation to our ADU? Where are we going to have symmetry between the structures, and where are we going to create privacy? And the main house was over here. So an important thing was making sure that the bedroom felt private from the main house. So we did this high window on the wall, and then these views towards the street were away from the main house. So it makes this bedroom feel bigger than it is, and also allowed for plenty of space for furniture storage and closet storage. And we'll see when we go through that the homeowner actually decided to flip this around where the bed is and where the furniture storage is, and it still works really well. The bathroom, we weren't, in this case, designing for aging in place and accessibility. So we were able to take a couple of the square feet that weren't needed here and give them elsewhere. But we still have a generous size shower. It's a smaller vanity here. And then with the washer dryer being in the bathroom, it's a nice compact space, but still with a window in there, feels bigger than it is. As we were chewing through design, the homeowner wanted to look at possibilities of expanding. Said, hey, this is my ADU footprint now, but what if I wanted to add more space in the future? So we did look at the ability to close off the bathroom, remove the washer and dryer, and this would be wide enough if they ever wanted to add additional space over here. So an interesting design consideration. We don't always do that, but it's an important part of our process. What are we planning on now? What are you thinking about later? And how can we set your project up for success? The real addition was in the back here. So to go from that boomerang shape to that T shape, and we worked through several iterations. So we're often talking, do you want a deck? Do you want a covered deck? Do you want a screened in porch? Or do we take it to that next level, fully insulate, drywall, and electrify it and make it a 3-season porch? And ultimately, given the homeowner's goals, that's what they went with. So we helped them design this. And what it does create here as well is a nice private space in the backyard. So the street is over here, the main house is over here, and now the folks in the ADU have a nice private space created in the back there. Before I leave the floor plans, any questions or things we have, April, from the audience? I think you're muted.
Sorry. Can you please describe the house ventilation system? It's very specific off the bat. I like it.
Yeah, why don't I'll table that when we go in. I'll highlight that and talk about how it works. But that's a great question.
And then the usual question that usually comes quite late, but the cost involved with this house.
Yeah, so they took our boomerang and then added that space. So if you look at our most up-to-date costing guide for 2024, that boomerang shape is typically in the 230 to 260 range. And then adding on that 3-season porch, depends on how big it is, probably adds about 150 per square foot. So it's another chunk of change. The big thing about a 3-season room is a lot of windows, and windows are expensive versus if they had less windows. So there would be some variability there. And then this project, in this backyard, they needed a new septic. They needed to clear some trees and put in a driveway. So they had a bigger sort of base cost with the utilities, but our pricing guide is a good place to start in terms of thinking about that boomerang shape or other shapes that are bigger and what those ranges are. Cool. Well, let's dive right in. So we saw on paper not only the floor plans, but our renders. And so taking a look at these now, we can go into real life and see how well we did, with those renders and how well that space turned out.
And we're getting a lot of questions about where specific things are located and what we use. And we're about ready to do a walkthrough through the entire house. You'll get answers to all of those questions.
Perfect. And if I miss anything, just let me know.
Okay.
So this is the front door right off the street. You come right in and we're here in the open concept kitchen living room. I didn't highlight it on the plan, but we're always thinking about storage in the right spaces. So we come in and immediately to the left here is a storage closet, shelves, hanging bar. You come in, coats, shoes, everything you shed, and it's stored away. We come right in, and this is that kitchen that I was talking about. So plenty of space for 2 people to prepare, and then all the storage you need built right in. The peninsula, as well as our corner layout here, gives us 2 corners for storage. We can see here there's corner storage in there, and then a variety of cabinetry, a spice rack, and then up top, we brought those all the way to the ceiling. It really ties the cabinets into that corner, as well as provide a little bit more storage. The homeowner in this case, this was one of the unique things. He went and picked out a light fixture that he really liked. So it was a great way for him to customize and add that touch to the kitchen. In our peninsula here, we have a trash pull-out cabinet, as well as another deep storage corner. So there's honestly so much storage. And with the double sink and the 18-inch dishwasher, along with the full-size appliances, it's a really, really functional open space. So turning around, this is that space for a table and flexibility. In this case, there is a small table, but in our render, we showed a bigger space with 4 seats. And again, you could look at a way to fit 3 seats in there. The homeowner, when we were designing, wanted to keep this side door out to the yard. So if you were grilling or something like that, you'd have quick access into the kitchen from the side. As I pan around here, this is our standard 8-foot ceilings. We're doing all recessed lighting, which is our standard. When we're talking about heating, cooling, and ventilation, mini splits are our go-to. In this case, these are the wall hung heads. These can also take on recessed cassette units in the ceiling, a box unit that sits on the floor, or we can look at doing a ducted system with vents and returns, but all using that mini split technology for an all-electric, energy-efficient house. That question earlier, Avril, about ventilation. So the mini split head is heating, cooling, dehumidifying, but all new houses are very, very airtight. I analogize it to a Ziploc bag. That house is zipped tight. When you open the front door, you can hear the vent hood flap because that sort of vacuum of air is so tight. So new construction requires mechanical ventilation. And what we see here on the ceiling is our ERV, or energy recovery ventilator. And that's basically constantly exhausting stale air and bringing in fresh air, and is sized for our space. So this model specifically, and we use this in a lot of our homes because we are doing smaller homes. You set it and forget it. So you set it, it's on, it's continuously running. There is this energy recovery component of it. So you don't have to worry about, hey, when I'm blasting the AC inside, am I just dumping that outside? It is helping, exchange the stale and the fresh air. Same in the winter with heated air. And then there is a boost feature. So if you have a bunch of people over, there's a lot more people breathing, you can put it on boost and it's going to up its CFMs and cycle more air all at once. So hopefully that answers that question. In this case, the kitchen was the priority. And when we added on that 3-season sort of bonus room, we were compromising on our living room space. So we have a fairly compact couch TV setup here, but that was offset knowing, hey, you have a lot of space out in that 3-season portion of the house. Awesome. All right, let's take a look here in the bathroom. Oh, I like to highlight this as well. In small home design, we're thinking about packing the most in a very efficient way into a small amount of space. We're eliminating sort of unused square feet. So in our layout here, this is our hallway. This is all the square feet that we've spent for a hallway. And we've also used that because this is our electric panel. And we also have space to our attic hatch. So even though, may think this is wasted square feet, we're able to fit some important pieces of the puzzle here in our hallway. Let's take a look in the bedroom. So the bed in this case, it fits a queen size bed very comfortably with 2 nightstands. space to ambulate and walk around both. This is that big window in front that I was talking about, views to the street. And then the window high on the wall maintains privacy and views from the main house. And what this allows too is space for furniture. Furniture space here, along with your bed, doesn't make the room feel cramped. And as we turn around, this is this large closet. So a very deep closet, hanging storage, shelf storage. This is also where we fit our hatch to go down into the crawl space, as well as in this model, this box on the wall here with the two pipes coming in and out of it. That is an on-demand hot water heater. So cold water in, hot water out, and in a very compact space, we're able to fit that mechanical unit in that closet.
Are the utility connections run from the main house or separate?
That's a great question. So every town is a little bit different on what they require. You know, are you on sewer, septic, well, water? Is there power at the street? Is it overhead? Is it underground? So those are all things we're trying to assess. Typically, when we're going to the power company, we're looking to get a secondary service. So its own service to the ADU. That's not the case always. Some of that depends on what's at the main house. Where is it? How far away? When we're talking about water and sewer, if those are town utilities, the town and the DPW, Public Works, will have their requirements. So some towns require us to connect to the existing water line. Some towns require us to have our own water line, and some towns give you the option of you can do what you want. And in that case, we run that through sort of our engineering construction division and make a recommendation based on cost, based on functionality, and what's going to work best. If you're on a well or on a septic, what we'll need to do is assess what's there. What are the capacities of those systems? Where are they located in the yard? And how far away or how close are we planning to build the ADU? So those things are always captured as part of our feasibility study. But we'll look into, you know, what's going to make the most sense, both from a construction perspective and also a cost perspective. Utilities are one of the ways where costs can get expensive quickly, depending on sort of the infrastructure and what's there. This is actually a really great example. Right here in the front yard, this green patch of grass, this ADU has its own 2-bedroom septic. So based on the site conditions here and the rules, we are allowed to put in our own new septic to serve this. The town, in this case, required us to connect to the water at the existing house. So we dug a trench across the yard and popped into the basement. And then the power was way far away on the far corner of the property. And we had to end up trenching all the way over there to get a new power service for the ADU. And we hide that power panel, in this case, behind this nice decorative cabinet. All right, so 1-bedroom, boomerang, space for sleeping, space for storage, big closet, and then the bathroom. So just like I showed you on our floor plan, we packed a lot into a relatively small space, but it still feels big and open. Our full-size washer and dryers here. This client chose to do the tile shower, paid a little bit of extra money, but along with the tile floor, it really works and it feels great in there. The smaller vanity was okay with them. Some people want to have more horizontal space for storage, and we can plan that in. But in this case, that was not a priority, so we made it work. And the window in there does just throughout the day provide nice natural light, and it works well in the bathroom. So yeah, let's go to the bonus room. So again, this is our boomerang. You know, we sort of just toured a 1-bedroom model, and then come over here, we're seeing how, let me go to the next one, how we can be pretty flexible in adding more space. So coming right in here, these are these giant windows all the way around with the overhead fan. It feels amazing in here. In this case, It's sort of set up more as like a dining room. But a client could very well, put a sectional sleeper sofa in here, wall mount a TV. There's really a lot of flexibility with this space. These windows are a little bit higher off the ground for furniture, so it allows that flexibility.
Because that
Yeah.
was also meant to be like a home office, but could be used as dining space too, right?
Dining space, yeah. Or you really could to make this your big comfy living room, put a sleeper sofa in here when you have guests. It was meant to give flexibility in that sort of 3-4 season feel. To round out the 3-season porch feel, we did an accent wall here in shiplap and painted that white. Gives a little more dimension to the room. And then we can't capture it very well here, but there is some private space out back. That's shielded from the main house, shielded from the neighbor.
The homeowner didn't know when they chose that color that it ended up being the color of the year for this year, for 2024.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I'll have to let the homeowner know that they have great tastes.
They're on social
Or
media.
crystal water.
You're just not on social media, so you haven't seen it, but they they saw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So why we wanted to choose this home to highlight? Not only did it turn out great, we're very proud of it, and the homeowner's happy. Highlights ways in which we're able to be flexible. So not only, hey, in a standard design, where do we want to spend more square feet in the kitchen? Do we want to spend more square feet in the bathroom or the bedroom? But we can also modify to give the whole house more space and functionality.
Yeah, and even with some of the decor features, like the choice to use the futon instead of the full couch or having a pull-out couch because it's intended for guests. There is enough space to do a pull-out couch all the way across, but to make space to walk from the bedroom to that sunroom area. We had the futon go so you could lay the other way instead of taking up all the living room floor space. Um, yeah. So, and then above the closet in the living room also has storage for all the extra bedding when you have guests over. I think there's some under the bed as well, like extra towels and things.
Yeah, we can see it hiding. I get asked a lot in all of our homes, storage up and storage down. Oh yeah, there it is. There's storage under the bed hiding there.
Yeah, and I think above the washer and dryer has some storage space that can be used too.
Correct. Yep. Cooler and some laundry detergent.
Oh, we didn't even answer this question. How many square feet is this home?
Yeah, so this home, we took our standard boomerang, which is around sort of 530 square feet, and then we added on that bonus room. It's about, was it 12 by 12? It's a little bit bigger. It ended up being around 740 square feet all in. So if you sort of look at the various other designs we've done, this is a T shape. This could also very easily be a square shape. It could also have been dragged out and instead of a boomerang, been more of an L shape. Yeah. But up top is R60 blown in cellulose. So I often tell people you really can't store stuff up there. And then in our closet, in our hatch here, you can open this up. All our utilities are accessed down there: water, electric, septic, HVAC. So if anything needs to get serviced, you have the ability to access it. It's dry, it's fully insulated. You could fit some bins down here or suitcases, but it's not, a readily accessible place for storage. So that's why, as we've thought about each piece of the house, where do we want the things that you're going to use, and how do we fit that in, both furniture wise, closet wise. And this house doesn't really have any built-in storage, but if we were to do sort of a pantry, perhaps in the kitchen, or other features where we can maximize storage throughout the house. But for being this size, for being the boomerang, 1 bedroom, it's got plenty of space and plenty of storage.
Do we ever do full basements?
Yep. So this house is on an insulated concrete form. which sort of looks like a giant Lego block. And those can be stacked if you do want a full basement. The considerations for a full basement: a new construction full basement that's watertight, well insulated, is what are the site conditions. That is always the biggest one. If you have high groundwater, we can dig and put in a basement, but there's a lot more risks there. So what are the site conditions? The other thing is cost. It's a lot more expensive to dig that big hole, all the material. So it starts to get expensive pretty quickly. It starts to be sort of 30, 40, $50,000 decisions sometimes, just depending on the site conditions, how big's the house. And the other thing with that basement, if you want internal access, is what space, what square feet are we going to spend to have an internal staircase going down? Or if you just do external access only, how do you want that to look? Would it be a bulkhead? There's a couple different options there. So it is possible, but we're always trying to look at things holistically. So it's looking at pragmatically, what's the site like, and what's our budget like, and how are you planning to use that? I worked on a couple projects recently where we were looking and exploring a basement, but ultimately, because of cost, because of site conditions, it actually made more sense for us to go up. Storage was the main goal, and there are ways we can turn our attic space into storage space at a lower price point, knowing that, hey, this is really just for storage. So let's look at a way that we can pack that in, but still make the whole house fully functional without having to dig a huge hole.
And that's a good point too about the pricing, because I know that you gave kind of a price range for this particular house, but how those site conditions can play a huge role in what may cost one thing for one person could cost something completely different, even in the same town. And then if you differ the municipality, it could make an even larger gap, I guess.
Yeah, a good example. Someone brought up earlier utilities. So this house is in Barnstable. Barnstable says, hey, go connect to the main house. Awesome. We went and did that. The ADUs that we built in Falmouth, the Falmouth Water Department says, nope, you need to go to the street and pay us a fee and connect to the street. It's $4,000 just in permits, not to mention however far away where we are from the street and doing that digging. So every town, every site does vary, but that's why we try to look at all those pieces up front so we can sort of under the whole umbrella know how much is this going to be. I do get asked often, what's the price per square foot? And it's like, well, when we're looking at every single piece of the puzzle, yeah, the price per square foot will really vary. Are we doing a new driveway and clearing the lot, or do you have a flat grassed backyard? All those pieces.
Yeah. Plus there's the beginning cost that even if you're building a 50 square foot house, that you're going to have to put in the utilities and all of that. So
yeah.
And jacks up the price. Do water pipes in the crawl space require heat tape? That's a question.
Nope. So our foundation is R22. It is incredibly insulated. And that water pipe will come, 4 feet down and come right up into our conditioned crawl space. So that crawl space is conditioned, does not freeze, and we don't have to worry about that in the winter. So no heat tape. There is a poured rat slab, they call it. So there is a poured floor of that crawl space.
Do we ever build just on a...
In the summer, it's very nice to crawl down there, lay on the concrete and slab. No, just kidding. Sorry, I cut you off, April. What were you saying?
Right. Do we ever build on just a slab?
Our go-to is this shallow frost-protected foundation. It's far more insulated, and it gives you that ability to access those utilities. And around the whole perimeter is a French drain. So we're pulling water away. We're not locking anything into that slab. And we're at R22. Because even if you pour that slab, to meet and exceed stretch energy code, if you're here in Massachusetts, or just sort of good building practices, we want to make sure that we have that R value.
And then do we ever work by expanding an existing structure as a small studio?
Yeah, so I think that question is sort of hitting at what can an ADU be? Um, this unit in particular is detached, so it would be called a detached ADU. If it were attached to the main house, that is another way that ADUs can be built. We do that. There's a little more logistics there. What's the foundation? What's the wall? What's the roof? How are we going to merge the two together? There are also towns where, well, as of a couple of days ago, hopefully there are no more towns in Mass that don't allow ADUs. In case everyone hasn't been reading the news, the governor just signed a bill allowing ADUs by right, which is very exciting. But you could take one of these and attach it to your house. There's just a little bit more logistics there. The third form of an ADU is renovating existing space, whether that's a basement, an attic, above a garage. And backyard ADUs specifically, we don't have the crews and capabilities to do that. But it is possible for those of you that are, thinking about what are my options here in terms of providing housing.
I did put a link in the chat that you all should be able to access that just has more about our foundations. It's a blog post from our website. If you still have more foundation questions as well.
Yeah, and I can go quickly over here to, yeah, this is what our foundation looked like. So these are our insulated concrete forms on insulation board, and our water line here, actually that black tube there that's our water line. So it comes right up. This form here is going to get poured with concrete and has rebar in it. So it's our structural element. And then we are fully insulated from the outside, insulated on the inside. Yeah. And then our French drain, not pictured, goes all the way around the outside. And then in this case, it goes into a dry well. So all the moisture that's coming down or near that foundation is being moved and wicked away.
Great.
I often I get asked in general, how did this look when it showed up? And people are generally amazed that, for example, in this kitchen, our cabinets were in, our counters were in, the backsplash was installed, the sink was installed, and the faucet. Our windows were in and all trimmed out. Our doors were in and all trimmed out. All we really had to do was do minor touch-ups and then plug our appliances in. So that speaks to how we're building these, our construction techniques, manufacturing offsite, and then doing that finish work on site. We did need to tie the two boxes together. So in our living room space, we call it the marriage wall, and it's where those two modules came together. So we had some drywall work to do. We had some ducting to run. And then we basically had to tie the electrical together. And then underneath our floor system here, the plumber was able to run the hot water, the cold water, and our drain lines to get outside to that new septic.
How do you deal with fire separation required in the 2021 IBC when you attach to an existing home?
Yeah, I'll tell you everything I know. Ultimately, this all goes through our engineering department, and they are the experts. The last time I was reading building separation stuff in the code there, we're required to have at least 5 feet. If you're closer than 5 feet, you need to have fire breaks on both surfaces. So 5 is generally the minimum. Some towns spec in there 10 feet if that's what they want. In this case, we're easily 50 to 75 feet away from the main house, so we didn't have to worry about it. If we are attaching, we'll need to look at what we're attaching to. We built a couple of these where we're attached to a garage. So we needed to make sure we had fire separation and fire doors. If we're attaching to existing conditioned space, that too would go through the engineering department, and then make sure that we have the right, not only fire protections, but also energy wise in terms of making sure we're meeting code.
What is the overall thickness of the exterior wall?
Yeah, oh, these are great. So the overall thickness, this is a 2x6 wall. That cavity is filled with batt insulation. And then we have R9, and we're using Zip R as that detail on the outside. So all in all, you can see in these windowsills, they're fairly deep. That windowsill is, what was it, 7.25 or thereabouts. So we're a 2x6 wall with that 1.5 plus our sheathing, and then plus our siding, depending on how thick what the siding is. And then our drywall on the inside.
And who is the manufacturer of our modular unit?
Yeah, so we're Backyard ADUs. We're basically doing the whole thing. We're the contractor, and then we have our factories in Maine and our factory in Pennsylvania. So we have two suppliers that we're pulling from, but everything that we're doing is uniquely ours.
Oh, someone said they missed the response about cost, the overall cost. I think the person that asked the question, this is why they're asking again.
Well, we'll put our most up-to-date pricing guide, which has our current costs, in a follow-up email. Just broad strokes, the boomerang is like 230 to 260. If you're bigger, like an 800 square feet, 2-bedroom, that's more like 260 to 290, 300, thereabouts. So those are broad strokes. Backyard ADUs, again, we're thinking about the whole thing. So those are like soup to nuts costs in a typical backyard. What our process is trying to identify up front, what are all the pieces of the puzzle and what's a good range, so that people have good information to move forward from. But those are general broad strokes.
And perfect lead up to, you continue to mention feasibility study. What is included in a feasibility study?
This house is actually a great example. The homeowner reached out to us and said, hey, I know ADUs are possible, and I know I have a yard. Tell me what's feasible. So we came, we showed up. A lot of the yard looked like that. It was wooded. And so we walked around the yard, walked through the forest, counted trees, assessed where the power was, where was the water, where was the septic, and helped him think about, at the outset, what's really possible. It's not just the cost of the home, it's the cost of the whole project. So we helped show him in both a visual format with a site sketch, where can you build, where are the utilities, how would this whole thing work, and then in a report format, just detailing, what's your current electric system, what do we need for the ADU, same with the water, same with the septic, and walked through all the pieces of the puzzle: site work, delivery logistics, municipal rules. What does the town say that's possible? So we helped them figure out, this is what you can build, this is how big you can build it, this is where you can build it, this is how we'd get it all hooked up, and this is how much it'll cost. So that's what that feasibility study is.
We also have an event about that as well on our YouTube video, on our YouTube channel. So
that's a good point. I could be long-winded here all night.
yeah, there's a whole
check it out
1 hour special with Tim.
Yeah.
Do we have any pictures of the exterior of the house?
Yeah, let's go take a look at that. Oh, I stopped my share. Let's start the share again. Oops, where are we here? You go grab. There we go. Full screen. Get out of full screen. Perfect. All right. Yeah, so this is our house that showed up. 2 pieces on 1 trailer. Oops. Zoom. There we go. 2 pieces on 1 trailer. And then we were able to lift them up, place them together on the foundation. So at the outset, I think I have the most recent photos here. Yeah. This is how it turned out. This house is finished late in the fall, so we didn't get great germination, but if you came back and looked at it now, that lawn has grown in.
I think I have new ones.
You got new ones in there?
Fine. Maybe I didn't post them.
Mm-hmm.
They were after that. It was in May when we were just there.
Okay.
Um, look at
So
those.
we're
It doesn't even look real.
Yeah, so the outside exterior, most of what we're doing, most people are doing vinyl. And when we do a vinyl siding job, we typically like to accent it with PVC. So it's PVC window trim, it's PVC window trim, PVC corners, and PVC fascia. So not only does it sort of provide a strong contrast, but it's PVC, so it's not going to rot. You don't have to paint it, and you really don't have to worry about it for a long time. The homeowner in this case wanted to accent that gable end. Let's go. Let's see if we have a photo showing. Yeah, here's a decent example. The main house has a similar finish, so that gable end material is a complement to the main house. And then what we can see here is also the big driveway. And when I say we can see it here, we can't see it here. But there's plenty of parking. So that was another consideration. The ADU is in the backyard, and then they have their own driveway, their own parking. So there's a sense of privacy.
Do you know if Maine is sticking with sprinklers for detached ADUs?
I mostly work in Massachusetts. I don't have a lot of expertise in Maine. I do know that our team runs into sprinklers up there.
It's
When I
not
hear about it,
statewide.
yeah, correct. It's not statewide. I think I'm gonna I'm gonna
Required.
eat my words. Yeah, I think it's mostly Portland. That is a real stickler about sprinklers. I get similar questions, especially on the Cape, about septic. And I think about sprinklers in a similar way, where it's a hurdle, but it's not a barrier. It's something we need to think about, plan about, and ultimately there's a cost implication, but it's not a hurdle to building a project. So
Um,
that's all I know about sprinklers.
I'm also putting our main small home advisor is Jeff. I'm going to put his email in the chat. So if you are from Maine, you can reach out to any specific questions and just let him know what municipality you're in, and he'll be able to get back to you with specific response for your question.
That is a great point. That's a great idea. Jeff will be your local expert. I know in Massachusetts, I haven't had to deal with it. If we're doing a multifamily, we would, but with our standard ADUs, we don't. That 5 foot fire separation is the only thing that we sometimes run into, depending on how tight the lot is, or building separation if the town has a specific rule that they want to see.
I also added our general inquiry email. So if you're from other areas, then someone can get back to you and kind of help point you in the right direction or answer some of your questions too.
Yeah, that's a great point. Backyard ADUs works in a lot of different places. So, reach out to me if you're in Mass, reach out to Jeff if you're in Maine. And if you're outside any of those regions, that's not to say we can't help. So please reach out to that info line. Averill, this one has gone very quickly. Do we have more
I know,
questions?
it was so fast. Well, you
Small
did
home, small
cover
tour.
this, so maybe you could make it a more concise answer, but does backyard ADUs convert detached garages to an ADU?
Typically, no. Sometimes we've gone in there and attached to an existing garage, but we're not renovating an existing garage. Well, when I get that question a lot, we're building offsite. So when we're looking at a garage, building that up to code, we really need to be looking at what is there in terms of foundation and structure, and how are we going to meet all applicable codes, especially there in terms of energy code.
And we had also got asked if we provide or sell or do just the design work and not the build if they have a general contractor.
We have done it. We have done it. It is possible. It's not our bread and butter. We do have our, design team and engineering teams in house, but that is geared towards small spaces. But it's also in this framework where we're building offsite, we're finishing on site, we're doing it in pretty concise timelines. We have had some folks who've gone more of that DIY shell route, where we design and deliver modules, and then the homeowner, whether they finish it themselves or have a friend who's a GC, finishes it from there.
That's a good point, yeah. Any last questions? Still have about 8 minutes if anyone has any last minute questions that they want to get in. I couldn't think of anything that.
Great. Well, this was awesome. I'm glad we're able to highlight this house. It turned out really well. The homeowner's happy. And yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Stick back to you.
Thinks of anything, again, feel free to reach out to, oh, Tim, you should probably put yours in there, huh?
My what? My email?
I can do it. I got you.
Please. Great.
But yeah, anyone can reach out to Tim with questions. And again, the info at Backyard ADUs, if you are not in Maine or Massachusetts,